So welcome to the On Purpose podcast, where we're here to live a life on purpose, to be flourished and fulfilled in all areas of our life. So I'm here with Kirk McDowell and Sarah Jean, and this is episode number 4, I believe. And I wanted to deep dive into the distinguishment of hearing more and knowing when to hold them and when to fold them. So first about hearing more, and what does that even mean?
So so let's start with something I'll call survival listening. So it's the way that people listen.
And we're talking to you.
Yes. I'm reminded of a study. I forget what it was, but you ask 100 people, like, if you're above average on anything, you above average intelligence, or you whatever, you always get this like wild curve. Like, well, first of all, not that many people can be above average. It's not possible. You got to have like there's like a middle point somewhere. So anyway, so most people, most of the time, listen for survival. So what does that mean? So it means that when someone is speaking to you, most people, most of the time, you have a certain set of concerns that are predetermined and universal. So when someone's speaking to you or something's happening, well, let's talk about listening. So if someone's speaking to you, you have a preset, predetermined set of concerns. You have the same concerns over and over again. No, I don't. Hang on. And you're unaware of it. And those concerns limit what you hear and what you see is possible. So first question might be, what are those concerns? Well, they have to do with survival. Do they agree with me? Do I like that? Do I not like this? Is this a threat to me? Is this useful for me? Do I like this? Do I not like this? Do I trust him? Do I not trust him? Do I trust her? Do I not trust her? Does this person seem crazy? Does this person seem dangerous? Does this person seem honest? Is this person lying to me? Is this person trying to manipulate me? Is there something I can get out of this? Will I benefit from this? If I invest a little time with this person, will I get something in return? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And so there's a logic to it. There's a behavioral logic to it, which is back in the day, hundreds of thousands of years ago, it was really important that as human beings, we were in concert on the same page with our community. Mm-hmm. That there was a certain certain similarity in our perspective and our worldview, because you live in a village with 100 people, everybody's got a role and a job, and you got the hunters and the growers and people raising family. You got everybody is doing something, and that's the way we work. One person doesn't do very well in the wilderness by themselves. It takes a community, it takes a family, it takes a village to survive. And so if you get crossways with the village, if your beliefs are no longer in alignment with the beliefs of the village, if you piss the wrong person off, you could get expelled, which would essentially be a death sentence. So if you want to know why people are all freaked out about, do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? Don't you understand what I'm saying? You got to understand me. I need you to understand me. It's all fear-driven, literally at the risk of death. Now, we're not present to that. If this conversation doesn't go well, I'm going to go out in the street and starve to death. It's not like that present, but it is present, like it exists and it's here, and it impacts everything you hear, right? So if you'll let that in for a moment, that there's a specific direction to what we're listening for, and what we're listening for is our survival. Now, included in survival is like comfort and lack of pain and that kind of thing. But it's literally survival: food, water, shelter, and companionship. And so we will um, we will shape shift ourselves and contort ourselves to be what we think we're supposed to be, so that we're in alignment with the people around us.
Mm.
And so now take that, multiply that over a lifetime. I'm 61 years old, right? So if there had never been a point when I had woken up to this phenomenon, I would have 61 years of practice of hearing what I need to hear to be what I need to be to get what I want to get. To hear what I need to hear. Because if you hear certain things, all of a sudden, if you heard somebody say, "Oh, I'm going to murder my daughter," all of a sudden you can't be super Mr. Laid Back.
Can't like not unhear it. Yeah.
Right. So it's really important that you only hear what you want to hear, so that you can keep being what you want to be, which in this case, safe, comfortable.
Yeah.
So, so, um, so you multiply that over a lifetime, and people have these deeply ingrained habits of both ignoring with what is inconsistent with their beliefs. It's easy to see something in other people, like this person at the table today was talking about how she felt left out and unincluded.
Yeah.
And her mind was coming up with all these reasons and conclusions, these theories about why she was being disrespected or unincluded, or whatever, left out or not considered fully or whatever. And so she had all these reasons. Oh, well, it must be this and it must be that. They must think this and and whatever. But none of it was actually true. All of her reasons and conclusions and theories were incorrect. We treat everybody the same here. And whatever theory she would have come up with for why we were treating her differently would be incorrect, because we don't do that. We let people find themselves, and we show them where the road is, and we let people, jump off the road or stay on the road or whatever you want to do. It's their sovereign choice. But she couldn't see that, and all she could see was us not meeting her expectations of how we should be treating a guest in the village, and bringing her biases, her prejudices, her conclusions, her theories from the world here, and assuming we're going to fall into the boxes that she's been living inside of all these years. And I don't know where it is right now, but when I walked through a little while ago, she was getting kind of a rude awakening. Nope, it's all you. But see, from there, she's listening for her survival. And a thing happens, and then what she hears is disrespect or prejudice or bias, or rather than, oh, I just didn't I just didn't follow the instructions. I just didn't ask for what I wanted. I just didn't make clear what my intention was. Oh, I didn't include myself. That is not in her reality. Her reality is we didn't do the things that we were supposed to do so that she could feel okay. So she's literally here, fully accepted, fully loved, fully seen, fully welcomed, fully embraced for everything that she is. We don't give a shit about all the crazy shit she did all her life, all the stuff she's feeling shameful about. We got nothing going on about whatsoever.
Yeah.
And yet she's unincluded.
Yeah.
So what she's hearing draws her back to the conclusion that she already has, that we're somehow getting it wrong, and she's being disrespected and she's being hurt, essentially.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, so since that's all she can hear, she's locked into this pattern of behavior that does indeed manifest her being unincluded. Like, there's a circle of chairs, and she puts her chair outside the circle facing someone's back and plants herself there for breakfast. Like, who
Yeah.
does that? Why would you do that, right? Well, you would do that if you already decided you're unincluded and no one cares. Then, of course, you would do that. So the hear more points to this phenomena of, I'm going to suggest that we're only hearing, let's say I'm going to throw a number out. I'm going to suggest that we're only hearing about 10% of what's happening around us.
Mm-hmm.
Really evident in this interaction that I'm pointing to with this woman, right? She clearly couldn't hear what was going on around her. She couldn't see what was going on around her. All she could see and hear is what she brought with her prejudices and conclusions and theories from the world. All she could hear and see is what she brought with her. She said,
Yeah.
we're very cliquish. I've been in cliquish communities. I don't respect that or care for that, and I would definitely interact with that. But that's actually not what we have here. We have teams, we have friends, we have families, we have people like working together. We don't have cliques. We don't have
Yeah.
groups of people who are better than, don't have that here. But left to her own devices, she would bring it here. If we left her with our community and there was no strong leadership, we'd come back in 3 months and they'd be cliques. They'd be this little circle sitting over there, this little talking shit about them, and there would be cliques there because that's what she knows, right? So to hear more is, first of all, an acknowledgement that we don't hear very much. And what we do hear is essentially what we've already decided that we're going to hear. Mostly we hear what we believe. We don't believe what we hear what we believe.
Yeah. And those
So,
beliefs, and those are like limited beliefs. Those are limiting your ability to be able to hear and to witness and to see what's going on, or even new things that are present.
yeah. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
limited in what they allow in. They're not limited in the ferocity with which they will assert
Mm-hmm.
themselves. There's no limit there.
Yeah.
There is a limit on what they allow. Right. So hear more is, first of all, an acknowledgement. Oh, I'm not hearing everything. There's more
Yeah.
to. First of all, it says there's more to hear. Oh, I thought I was a good listener. Everybody, by the way, everybody thinks they're an above average listener. So
Oh yeah, I listen great. I'm
yeah,
a
everybody's a great listener. Right? I'm sorry. What did you say, just? So, uh, uh, so hear more. So there's acknowledgement that we don't hear everything, which is, for some people, will be a state change. Just really let that in, and the ramifications of that. See, people will let that in, and the superficial letting in of that will be, oh yeah, that's cool. We could hear more. Highly superficial. A hearing more would be, oh shit, what have I been missing for 61 years?
Mhm.
There's
Or
an
what have I
answer.
been listening to?
Yes. What have I been listening to, and what have I been missing? What have I been missing? So, because the ramifications of, I'm only hearing 10% of what's going on around me are massive, if you will let that in, which
Yeah.
means you're probably getting a lot of stuff wrong. And I don't mean in the right, wrong, good, bad kind of way. I mean, I have this intention and I want to
Mhm.
create this result. But every time I say something or do something, I get a different result. Well, why is that? Because you're misconcluding what you're hearing and seeing means. You're missing something. Most
Mhm.
people miss their personal responsibility and all the stuff that they're dealing with that they don't like. Most people live like, if you test them, they'll say the right thing, air quotes sometimes, right? But if you look at how people live their lives, most people live in their lives like the stuff that they don't like is someone else's fault,
Oh yeah.
right? How I feel is someone else's fault. My money is someone else's fault. My relationships are someone else's fault. My happiness is someone else's fault. Yeah. And so hearing more would be being in life, listening from reality. I don't
Well, what's
hear, I'm not
what's real?
present. Yeah, yeah. First of all, what's real is I don't know what's real. I
Mhm.
led a conversation that got everybody really triggered at a men's group a few months back. And the question was very simple, right? About that which you're so certain of, how do you know? So those
Mhm.
things that, I know what I know. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Not trying to take nothing away from you. Do have a quick follow-up question. How do you know?
Yeah.
Well, I just really I felt it in my bones. Cool. Have you ever felt something in your bones and been wildly incorrect? Well, yeah. Cool. So how do you know what you know? Well, I read it. Oh, cool, 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 cool. Have you ever read anything that you've been incorrect about? On and on and on. And what you'll find is there's no test that's foolproof.
Mhm.
I heard it from God. Okay, well, cool. Well, could your interpretations from what could you interpret God incorrectly? Is that possible? Well, yeah, that's possible. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So where that leaves us, where that leaves me anyway, it's left different people in different places. Where I choose to be left in this conversation is I don't get to lazily say what I say and just assert it's true. I have to actually build a case for it. I actually have to demonstrate why it's valuable to have this truth. Well, if we don't know what's true, then what does anything matter? Yeah, I think everything matters.
Hmm.
So where that leaves me is in a humble place of having to rely on my results rather
Hmm.
than something I read or heard somewhere or something I feel or something I had a thought about last night. Well, how do you know this to be true? Well, because I've duplicated the result 517 times. So the 518th time possibly will be different, but chances are really good that this is true because the fruits are predictable and repeatable. You know, you go meet somebody and punch them in the face. That's not good. Why is it not good? Because I keep getting punched back in the face every time I do it. Well, did you want to get punched in the face back? No, no, no. Oh, okay. Well, then that was the wrong action. Well,
Yeah.
I thought there was no right or wrong. No, no, not in the grand sense. I'm saying if you didn't want to get punched in the face and you took an action, you got punched in the face. I'm saying you took the wrong action, given what you were committed to.
Yeah.
Right? People walk around listening like everything is everyone else's fault. People go around listening to how do I get it right with this person and in this situation. And what they miss is there's a whole other reality that's actually real and that's actually happening that doesn't care what other people think, doesn't care what the right thing is, doesn't care what you read in the textbook 7 years ago. And so hearing more is to hear what you hear at any level, assume it's superficial, and then inquire deeper. Well, that person said that thing, they must not like me. Well, really? You don't think that you think this person is like, well, no, I don't really think that. Okay, well, what do you really think? Well, they must be just having a bad day. Okay, well, is there other evidence of that having a bad day, or is this the one thing that you felt? Well, it was just the one thing that felt. They've been laughing and having fun all day. Okay, so
Yeah.
they don't dislike you, and they're not having a bad day. What's going on? Why did they say what they said? Well, maybe he saw this thing and he was trying to support me with that. Okay, maybe. Yeah, maybe so. That's definitely a more empowering interpretation. If we don't know the truth, so if we can't prove the absolute truth about the thing, then we have to interpret. He said a thing, it hurt my feelings. My first interpretation is he's a dickhead. My second interpretation, he doesn't like me. My third interpretation is having a bad day. But eventually I might get to something like, well, maybe he was just confronting my whininess. It's fine. Oh, well, okay, maybe, possibly. And maybe
Could
he
be.
did, yeah, and maybe he did that out of love. Maybe he did that out of respect. I go, possible, right?
Yeah.
Now, we don't know if either one of those are true empirically. Well, what's the right answer? Well, I actually don't know. But I do know one answer sends me to darkness and hell, and the other answer keeps me in heaven. So I do know that. If I relate to my brother like he loves me and he's trying to support me, and I find the gold in what he says to me, and I don't walk around making up shit about him, right? I'm going to be in a lot better place than if I'm doing just the opposite.
Yeah.
So, and hear more, so there's an inference that there's more to hear. There's an infinite inference of our mortality and our limitedness and what we believe and see and feel and conclude and theorize about our, the limitation of our perspective and a recommendation to embrace the infinite. So in anything that happens around us or anything that's said to us, there's an infiniteness to what we could hear, what we can interpret, what we could use it for, right? So We can use anything around us to send us to hell, and we can send anything around us to wake us up, bring us back to heaven. And so hear more is like this whole world of humility and responsibility. I don't hear everything. Let me open up my mind and open my heart and go way deeper. And let me see if there are golden threads in those depths that have eluded my initial cursory, superficial assessment of what just happened and what got said.
Yeah, that's what I'm aware of is that it's a state change when you decide to listen to whatever it is that you're listening to and start coming from a space rather than for a space, right? For something, trying to
Yeah.
get something. And so the state changing being what I heard is ways of being that you were saying is a way of being responsible, a way of being humble, a way of being in humility towards one's life and what your purpose is and what you're up to. And yeah, that is wow. So on this journey, when someone's in this space, the process for it, how do they begin to hear that? How do they begin to start recognizing in the moments when they're like, what the F am I listening to right now?
A phrase just popped into my head, which I've heard before, but feels really appropriate, which is out slow the darkness.
Out
So
slow the darkness.
yes. If you notice, the darkness is very fast and frenetic, very reactive. People attacking each other, not listening to each other,
I need an
vibrating.
answer right now. You need to
Yeah.
tell me this right now.
I need you to agree with me. I'm
I need
never
you
gonna
to understand this. Wait,
yes.
wait, 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 wait.
Yeah, that's not how this works. So let's break this down. So
It's
so
not urgent. It's not urgent matter.
right, at least to me, which is where I'm thinking from. Anyway, so telling ones on myself. So yeah, so patience, grace, faith. These softer, slower worlds. These distinctions. Um, Reactivity is from fear. Grace and faith and patience have a knowing, confident, fearless, courageous quality to them,
Mm,
right? And attack and defense and point making and one-upsmanship and dominance or avoidance of dominance, passive aggressivity, um, aggressivity is that a word? Aggressiveness and passive aggressiveness. Those are all fear. Those have a
yeah.
fear quality to them, right? So um, when we're afraid, we tend to react quickly, reactive, right? That you lose the conscious pause, go right to reactivity, on purpose and by design, by the way.
Yeah.
But hearing more for me requires patience, slow. I'm a fast person. I talk fast. I think fast. I respond quickly. Um, those are my superpowers, and they're detrimental in this particular case because the
Mm-hmm.
game here is to slow down and hear more, observe more, inquire more deeply, feel it again, walk through that thing one more time in your head. You know, slow down, and that requires faith for me.
Yeah.
Things are working for good for those who serve,
Mm.
and so I consider myself as one who serves. So I
Yeah,
consider myself.
hear that really quick. I just want to pause and just re-say that again is all things are working for good for those who believe. It is the beliefs that are what is carrying these reactions. And so when we slow down and believe that things are working for good, you're able to hear just a little bit more in what's actually happening inside of your body and the situation, because it's not the circumstances. It's what's alive and what's present right now. And is this a lie or is this the truth? And so, yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one in faith, especially here with Earth Waking Village. It's that belief is all things are working for good for those who believe. And so just wanted to highlight that for a minute.
I appreciate that. And you just demonstrated hearing more. You just did it. You slowed us down. You said, wait, I was already going slow. And then you put the brakes on and the momentum got slower. You slowed down further. And as the momentum slowed down further, I heard more
Hmm.
and I felt more and I saw more and I have access to more. So therefore I have more power and more ability and more capacity than I had before you hit the brakes.
Hmm.
Can you see all that?
Yeah, I can. I
Yeah.
totally feel it, and I see it. Yeah.
So you just beautifully demonstrated.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also want to bring a distinction in about awareness about the reactivity inside one's body,
Yeah.
because a register is that you're listening. You listen. Your body doesn't lie, and somebody's, oh, I'm happy, and they're, well, did you tell that to your face today? So um, your body doesn't lie to you, and it impacts people around you. And so hearing more is feeling inside of your body, especially when there's moments of reactivity, like what's actually coming up for me. Well, I'll feel it in my gut at first. I'll feel this like knot, like almost like twisting in my belly, and then it'll rise up into my chest, and my chest will get hot, and I'm like, "Ugh," and then it'll be in my face, and I'm like, that's when I'm like, okay, the register's coming all the way up, and we want to get it when it's in our gut, when we can feel that tightness. Like, what is my gut trying to tell me? What is my heart trying to say right now? And so it's listening for those cues of what your body's trying to say. And I've got two registers. That one's the big one. That's the one that wants to come all the way up and like get in your face and tell you F you and get back, stand away from me. And then there's the one where I shrink and I'm like, I want to close up and all my
Yeah.
energy is going to go into my butthole. And I'm
Yeah.
so like, I'm in fear. I'm like small, and I feel like I'm so tiny into that space, and I want to curl up in a ball. And so that's when you're in fear of somebody else's bigness and someone else's, so I just wanted to bring that distinction and to hear more about what it is that your body is indicating for you, to get present to what is it that is it trying to say? What lie am I carrying? What belief am I carrying in this moment right now? What am I not listening to with this person or the situation or to myself? So, yeah.
Um, I've I've learned to listen to my body in the last few years in a way that I didn't, in a way that I hadn't before. And I don't exactly ask the questions of myself the way you phrased them. Like if my heart's beating fast, was it trying to tell me? I don't. It's not quite like that. I'm present to either peace or a discord.
Mm.
So for me, it's like a hot cold kind of thing. And I sort of lacking in flavor, so it's good bad. And and then I've learned in my early warning signals for discord, like hot neck, rapid breathing, rapid heart, um, this intense desire to bring this whatever I'm dealing with to a conclusion, like right now. Not in a minute. Let's bring this thing to a close. Right? So you best stand back while we're doing it.
Mhm.
I've learned over the years to recognize that before it gets up a full head of steam, and wind it down, so that my awareness can kind of, my full awareness can kind of come back online and peace can kind of come back online. Not that peace is the only way to be, but if I'm working through something with myself or someone else, better for me to be peaceful so I have full access to my capacities of thinking and feeling and stuff. I don't think that's quite the question you asked, but that's what we
No, and I love that. I love that there's differences, and your body, like other people's bodies are going to be different, and the way
Yes.
that it's like my way is probably not going to work for you, but it's an indicator of where to just look and what to see. And I
Yeah.
love that you brought a different flavor, and men and women are completely different as well, in the way that we operate and the way that we're built and the way that things happen. So bringing
Yeah.
that dynamic totally, it gave me a really wider perspective. It helped me hear more about what's going on.
Very good.
So yeah, so beautiful, so beautiful. Um, yeah, so out slowing the darkness.
Yeah.
I loved that phrase that you had said, and slowing down, um, becoming aware of what is happening and what is our focus at the moment, and living a life on purpose, like bring that in those moments. And how do you bring that in at that moment, like your purpose? And is this going to be uh, beneficial for myself or the other person? When you're living a life on purpose, that always is something that's inside of your commitment, right? And so my question is in these moments of reactivity and how to outslow the darkness, how do we bring purpose inside of that? How do we remember that in those moments?
For me, the purpose is like jet fuel. Like the life that I have now would have been unpredictable to me in my younger years, my 20s or whatever. Um, uh, I never imagined I would be someone who I never imagined I'd be a good person. I never imagined I'd be a person of character. I never imagined that I'd be a leader. I never imagined that I would have a life's purpose of modeling what's possible for people, or creating, spaces where people can live in love and safety and, freedom and sovereignty. Like I never would have predicted. Um, I'm sorry, would you give me the prompt again?
Yeah, outslowing the darkness and being in reactivity, how to bring purpose inside of that, how to
Ah,
bring,
yes, yes,
yeah.
yes, 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 yes. So essentially, I never imagined I would be a person of purpose. Um, the vibe of my childhood was scarcity and manipulation and whatever the opposite of honor and integrity would be, pretty much always.
Self-importance.
Yeah, selfishness, and yeah. So it was a dark environment, and so it just never occurred to me. I just assumed I was that. Because I didn't really know anything else. And so what this purpose has become for me is like jet fuel. I pretty sure I would have done almost none of the work that I've done if it was solely for me, because I just didn't value myself. And I don't know that I do value myself now, in a sense. This may sound kind of weird, but I can see the value that I bring to others. And I can see, like, if I look at the village through a particular lens, and I look at my work with John for the last few years through a particular lens, and other stuff that I've done, I can see that I've been a substantial benefit to people. I can see that I've done good work. I can see that I've served well. And so I can see my value there, but I don't have this intrinsic experience of being valuable.
Mm.
So I use purpose to, and I want to be someone who serves, right? Like I desire this and I promise this and move towards this for many years. And so, like for example, great example, this podcast, right? So we have a breakfast meeting. I know I should talk about this every week. I should probably stop. So I have a breakfast meeting, and then I've got my calls, and I'm like, oh, nothing until this evening. I'm all free. And I look at my calendar, and like, I'll put the podcast. And my first reaction was like, nothing else to do? Jesus. Now, if I didn't have you guys looking at me all the time and looking at my integrity, and I didn't have all these bold declarations about purpose and inspiration and modeling what's possible and heaven on earth and service, if I didn't have all that, I might not have shown up.
Mm.
Before I woke up, I was the guy who didn't show up to stuff because I didn't matter. I wasn't worth it. Like, what difference does it make if I show up or not? Doesn't make a difference to
Yeah.
me. How can it make a difference to you? And so I use purpose to make myself see my value. And I use purpose as this sort of leverage on myself to keep myself moving and uncomfortable, moving towards the discomfort, moving towards the light, moving towards my greatness. I don't want to move towards the light. I don't want to move towards my greatness. It makes me feel very uncomfortable. It makes me anxious. It makes me open for attack all the fucking time. People just willy-nilly attack me out of nowhere. No, and I don't like that. Frankly, it's not the part. It was just, I think that was like the fine print on the other side, on the third page on the back, you know. And so, you know, I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't say what I say. I wouldn't do what I do. I wouldn't be what I am being if it wasn't for my purpose and wasn't for the evidence that I clearly do make a difference in the world despite how I feel from time to time.
Mm. I hear that. I hear that so much because I became present to like my old way of being. I used to be in bed till like
Right.
1 o'clock in the fucking
Yeah.
afternoon, just depressed and like I didn't
Yeah.
have purpose, and now I'm like, I'm up at 5 o'clock. I'm like, I'm ready to go. I'm like, let's do this, and
There's people in your life who probably like could not even get, like, there's people in my life who could not get who I am today. Like, it's so good.
yeah, like,
Up at 5 o'clock in the morning? Are you
what
not
are you
the
doing? I'm like, I'm
not
going to
the
the
person
gym
I grew
and
up
I've got to garden and I'm gonna go do this.
Yes.
It's a whole state change. It's a whole different way when we decide on one thing, one purpose. My soul mission, my soul's desire is to head towards this no matter what. And then every other commitment, everything else just gets lined up. And so it brings me to my next conversation that I wanted to have with you was knowing when to hold them and when to fold them.
Yeah. So I was just
Because
seeing
that,
that.
yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead. You were just saying that. So
I was just seeing that kind of us coming to that point in the conversation. So knowing when to hold them and fold them is a lot like hearing more because, again, in that reactive state, well, there's a couple layers, right? So first of all, there's the reactive state when there's an input that makes you feel a certain way, a certain thing happens. So that's just reactivity. You don't even need to be there for that. You poke me in the forehead and I'll poke you back. I don't even need to be present for that. This is automatic. Boom, 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 boom. Right? So there's that. There's just pure reactivity. Then there's a commitment to make a difference, but being clunky at it, right? So
yeah,
you're a new coach, right? Got some couple things to say and a couple questions to ask and a lot of inspiration. Let me at it, right? So
That sounds like me.
Yes. No, you're definitely past that. That was you at one time.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
And and so it's tempting to want to be interdictive, interactive, to you hear something, you hear an opportunity, you want to say the right thing or ask the right question and set them free, right? Which is great. That's definitely a stage. And then there's another stage after that where you notice that it's not so much your words that carry to the day, it's who you're being in relationship to the person. Like when you're sitting in front of someone and you're really present to their greatness and you're present to their divinity and you're present to anything's possible, and you can see the things that are getting in their way, and you can see the childhood trauma, and you can see the person they're pretending to be, you can see the person that they're hoping no one will see, and you can see the truth of them, you can see the divinity, you can see the child. And so when to hold them, when to take no action, is to let the flower unfold on its own time and let people discover something for themselves rather than having it pointed out to them. Now,
Mm-hmm.
why would you do that? Well, because sometimes, well, we never know the perfect time for the flower to unfold. We just would like
That's
it to
right.
be now. We're hoping for now, but we really have no idea. And so hold it, letting the situation ride for a minute allows natural timing to take its course without you intervening and mucking around with it. So that's one
Oh,
reason.
yeah.
Another reason is because if someone discovers it for themselves, they'll never have to be reminded of it.
Oh, yeah.
If you discover it for them and show it to them, they may remember it, they may not. But if you do it 100 times, I can absolutely promise you, you're going to be working a lot harder reminding them and bringing them back to it than if they would have discovered all those things for themselves. Now, it would probably take longer, but we'll have more substance.
Yeah.
So sometimes I like there was a thing that somebody said to me this morning that was discordant for me, but it just wasn't the time. First of
Mm.
all, they were not in a receptive mode. They were like, take that. Like, okay, cool, cool, cool. Yes, I will take that. And I'll put it in my file with your name on it. Thank you. I accept that. Future conversation that we'll definitely have one day. Uh, and because there was no receptivity to it, there were other things going on. I was a little surprised, so I might not have been at my very best. And a couple things may happen. She may discover for her, and she did kind of soften up. So I do think she heard what I heard and made an adjustment without it being communicated, I believe. But regardless, but if if she hears what I heard for herself, we'll never have to revisit it.
Yeah.
And if I leave it, she may hear it for herself, and I need to take no further action. So the lightest touch possible. So another reason to not intervene is lightest touch possible. If you take a wild horse and you break them in, and you're super gentle and respectful and loving, you have the opportunity to be super loving and respectful and gentle with that horse for the rest of its life.
Yeah.
If you break in that same horse with roughness and meanness and jerking them around and being forceful and pushing and pulling all the time, you will need to always do that to get their attention. So
Mm.
those first few coaching conversations for me are important because something's going to get imprinted. They're either
Yeah.
going to imprint you as the coach that they can say anything to, or they're going to imprint you as the coach to resist because they know you're coming at them.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I'm deciding whether or not to let the flower unfold or to intervene, both can be the right choice, both can be the wrong choice, and the wrongness or rightness of it is determined on what you're committed to, right? So there are some times when we don't have time to fuck around with this thing. We need to get it right now.
Yeah.
That happens. There are lots of moving parts. You're not the star of this show. receive what I'm saying
Yeah.
now. Or sometimes the person is the star of the show and we have time and the environment's perfect and we can just let this thing unfold for a little while in hopes of a deeper, richer result
Hmm.
through self-discovery and timing, divine timing.
Wow. And that's a delicate process. And that also brings me back to the same ways of being: patience, faith, and grace.
Yes. And
Yeah.
this is the artistry of our work. We have lots of techniques, we have lots of strategies, we have lots of tactics, we have lots of words and language. All of those things are beautiful. I stand by them, I train them, I live them. And there's this whole other world that I also stand by that's newer to me, you know,
Mhm.
the perfection of all things, letting divine timing take its course, letting people find their own path, honoring people's decisions through not deciding or acting up or being of service or whatever, and honor those communications and choices. Over the last year, I've become a lot less interventional and a lot more observational. And
Mhm.
interestingly, it's altered the dynamic of the team. Many members of the team are being much more interventional and less observational. So it's very interesting. Where once I thought I had to be the one to intervene because of skill, experience, and temperament, I thought I was the only one. As I've dialed it back, other people have dialed theirs up. So there seems to be like this balance. Even if I was probably the biggest weight in the balance, but as I move, the entire village moves with me. I notice.
Yeah.
John was being highly interventional today. Um, that's a year ago. That never happened. A year ago, that would have been me raising my voice and drawing her line. It was very interesting. It's also very interesting to observe my reaction to hearing someone else doing my part. It's like, oh, wow, ooh, 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 wow. Do you have to be so rough?
I was
All those
really,
looks that people used to give me, I can now see myself giving that looks to other people. Like, dude, really?
yeah, I was grateful to see that, because there's this uh, way of acceptance of, even when you have to do that, when you're like the one that has to deliver the message, and there's like this love that's beyond anything that I could ever imagine. And it's not like we're doing it to hurt someone.
Yeah,
It is to actually just, hey, you're crossing a line right now, and I'm coming in with the truth. And the truth is already going to piss you off, so it's, it was just a really beautiful way to um, own and honor that part of myself, even
yeah, yeah.
for communication. And so it was really good to hear that. So
It's a fun thought. When people resist, they fail to appreciate a certain dynamic. People resist to like soften the blow. They think something's going to get out. But the problem is they put up the shield, and now the blow is going to get adjusted exactly for the size of the shield. Oh,
oh,
oh, you wanted a triple. I'm sorry, I was just going to give you a single, but clearly requesting a triple. And then they bring out the swords, like, oh, my bad. You want the sprinkles and the cherry whipping. You want the full ride. You want the triple and the toppings, right? And then,
oh,
and then they start getting shitty, like, oh, my bad. You want the full ride.
you want the banana
Yeah,
split?
oh, I'm sorry. Let's put away the Sunday. Let's pull out the banana split. Let's do this thing. And the
Oh
whole
man.
thing is totally their choice all the time because I started with like a little, like with like a little Hershey's Kiss, and I got turned into a banana split. Really, just space of a minute or two as the defenses and the weapons start upgrading. So
Wow.
somehow that's relevant to it.
It is. It's so relevant, because that is relevant to the conversation of, one, hearing more, and then two, knowing when to hold them and when to fold them. When somebody's got this shield or this sword, uh, it can be used in the benefit for purpose for other people to witness, especially if there's other people that are involved. And second, it's also an indicator of recognizing where someone's at, so
Yeah,
you can serve them the best that you can and serve yourself. Like, know when it's not getting through, when their listening is shut off. And I think it's just a beautiful way of viewing these distinctions and how they can be interpreted inside of someone else's life, or how to use these inside of their life to see it from a different angle. So, yeah.
I like that. And I just saw another view of the Hold'em and Fold'em, which is different styles of communicating, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you never really know what's going to get somebody. You never really know what's going to get through the armor and touch their heart. It often is the thing that you least think. Often, back in the day, I used to prepare many hours for my leading, and I'd spend 7 hours preparing this one thing, and this off the cuff remark would be the thing that set everybody free.
Like, what?
Why
I
did I
wasn't
do
prepared
that?
for that one.
Yeah, right. That's not the one I want to be the thing. So, okay, we go back to this actually work by us. So not speaking and the speaking are both forms of communication,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so, as is soft, hard, fast, slow, loud, quiet, serious, humorous, all those sorts of things. So, it also I can see this conversation as a one of many tactics to break the communications pattern sufficiently so that what you're actually intending to get heard can get through all the filters and be heard as intended.
Mm.
So I'll work against the pattern sometimes. Maybe they're big talkers, so I'll interrupt. Or maybe they never say anything, so I never say anything. Or maybe they get shitty, so I don't say anything. Or maybe they get shitty and I get super shitty, whatever it is. But whatever tactic I choose, it's not about the tactic. It's about trying to get around the pattern or destroy the pattern or kind of have it disappear for a moment so that your heart gets touched. Like, whoa, how'd you do that? Like a little question or stuff like that.
Wait,
But
I'm all exposed.
yeah. But the goal is to get through the automaton, the automatic defenses to the
Yeah.
heart with what you're intending to get to the heart with. And so I can also see that this is a sort of another one of many tactics to circumvent the defenses.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. Um, and that is where all of these different distinctions um, are a great foundation of how to live a life on purpose. The purpose of why you're coming at all these different angles. Somebody has no clue or understands why we're using that tactic or using that way of being. And a lot of people have different judgments, like, why weren't you being tender? Why weren't you being sweet? Why were you so mean and sergeant? Well, that might have been the thing that finally broke that armor. It might have been the thing that actually helped someone to get into their heart and feel something that they haven't been feeling for a long time, that they said that they weren't allowed to feel for the longest time, and now they get to. So I love that, because the purpose is all about returning home, returning back to our hearts, to be in the kingdom, to be in love. And so when you're on purpose and you're using all of these things, you're using it for good, because everything works for good for those who believe. So, yeah. Thank you, Kirk. I appreciate this conversation. I honor you, and I just thank you so much for this. And thank you for everyone that's watching. If you'd like to go deeper, have these distinctions be inside of your life, and want to find your voice from the inside out, I'm going to put a link in the chat for the Visionary Leadership Program. Kirk is the creator of that, and he's just by far one of the best coaches I've ever had. And that'll be in the chat for you, and different resources that you can plug into to stay connected with Earth Waking Village. So thank you for being here with us today.
All right, great job. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Kirk.